keep telling the lies. Like if you really were on a ball, you would be throwing globe evidence at us day and night, non-stop. You know?
Hey, keep
Hey?
Oh, it's SC.
Hey, SC, what's going on?
Brother?
Yeah, I can hear you. We're just analysing the silent on the globe. What's going on?
When we're talking about the five-sided square, brother.
Oh yeah, they had a go at it, but Termin says it's just what did he say? He said it's just they're having fun. Doesn't really mean anything. They're just like doing mathematical like fun. But I know what you're saying, though. But he's gone now. Termin.
Yeah, the reason why this came up, Kimo, is last night we were listening to Seek Truth, Speak Truth, his YouTube, and they were going over the debate that you had with him, which you thoroughly demolished him, by the way. Good job. Of course, they were saying the opposite.
Yeah.
Oh, did you just watch it? Yeah, you saw it and all that. Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. And that's where it came up, bro. That's where the five-sided square.
Well, what did I say, or what did he say? What happened? Was it brought up there? What was said?
Yeah, well, Bullet Bill came up with it, and they were talking about it, and Ranty was championing it. Yeah, so much so that Bev made a comment, a five-sided square, really? And Ranty came on and told Bill, well, there's some dummies in the chat talking about five-sided squares. Would you like to, carry up on that? And yeah, he defended it. Five-sided square, bro. What's the world coming to?
What's a five-sided square?
I don't know.
I'd like to know too. No idea.
Yeah, me too.
He's in Montreal. Listen to the debate. He listened to the argument. He doesn't know what it is.
Maybe it's a pyramid.
Even STST says he's a five-sided square guy.
Yeah.
I'm not sure five-sided squares exist.
Well, they have 90-degree angles, but it's not a real square, is it? Obviously.
Oh, wait, you're saying it's at 90-degree angles, but it's got five sides.
So what are the arguments for and against the five-sided square?
Just made, so is that the properties of it? It's got five sides, but they have 90-degree angles.
I think so.
That's what they claim. Yeah, that's what they claim.
Yeah.
Okay, so it exists on some other type of surface other than the flat surface. It's got probably a hyperbolic surface, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
How can you have a five-sided square still?
Well, I wouldn't call it a square as a problem. It'd be more like a pentagram or pentagon with pentagon with 90-degree angles.
Yeah, it sort of depends on how you define things. I would personally argue that there are better definitions of a square.
Well,
Blue is off
corners.
Maybe Blue could give us his ingenious, because Blue is, after all, a professional.
Why are you so, obsessed about Blue?
You can make one of these.
He's an engineer. I want to hear his point of view.
You can make one of these in Blender or any other kind of 3D.
You trolling me, SC?
A little bit, Blue.
SC wants to get some sound clips.
It's simple. Is a pentagram a square?
No, it's not. I wouldn't call that object a square.
Depends on how you define a square.
Yeah, it depends on your definition.
You got that video, Essie? You want to post it again?
Square is a shape with all 90-degree angles. You can have three-sided and five-sided, as well as four. Just not in Euclidean space.
A five-sided square, is that what you're saying?
If you define a square as a shape with 90-degree internal angles.
The better question is, who's willing to talk advanced math topics to flat earthers?
Yep.
This is not about math. This is about geometry.
It's sort of
math. Geometry is math.
Not about math. Oh
Yeah, that actually
Geometry is one of those
summarizes
pure
that.
forms of math, man.
Yeah. It's not about the letters. It's about alphabets.
It's about 4 straight lines.
No, but, Blue has a point. It really all just comes down to the definitions. The same thing with in non-Euclidean geometry or on spherical geometry. You have a triangle where the angles are more than 180 degrees, but it's also the case that you don't define triangles the same way in non-Euclidean geometry or straight lines, or anything like that. So
Would someone be able to get me a definition of a square having more than 4 sides?
yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. We're saying it depends on how you're defining these terms.
For a definition of the 5-sided.
Well, I mean, I gave you an example of where that could exist. So in a hyperbolic plane, you could have a 5-sided object that had 90-degree angles, and you can decide yourself. You can decide what to call that. Okay.
But it's not a square.
That object would exist, and if Blue wants to call it as a square, according to his definition of that
square
space,
is 64 sides.
But hold on,
square
can a
is
square be
equal sides.
two shapes? Can a square have 2 shapes? Isn't that a contradiction?
It's the same way in non-Euclidean geometry. They have objects that we call straight lines. We don't call them straight lines, but people colloquially call them straight lines. But they have some of the same properties, but they also have different properties.
All right.
The shortest distance between 2 points, but it's not parallel to other straight lines.
Can you make a cube out of this square?
I'm not talking about cubes.
Can you make a cube out of this?
The question is, can you have 5-sided squares?
Yeah.
Number file's got a video, and there it is.
I'm asking, out of this 5-sided square, can you make a cube?
I find it actually interesting that Bev is sort of one of the guys calling out this 5-sided square idea. Now, one of the things that we can for sure say is if we follow Euclid's definition, that is a 1-sided square.
Take that as a no.
So in fact, kind of in a roundabout way, Bev is attacking Euclid, his teacher and his guru. And he's saying Euclid's definition of a square doesn't work and it's insane. Because following Euclid, that would be a 5-sided square.
Bev is dollared.
So when you're trying to work out a square area, you're saying you can use a 5-sided square area.
Listen, the reason why there's different geometries for different surfaces.
Kosho, can we have, for example, let's say, I'm just throwing this out now. Can we have a 2-sided triangle?
Okay, let me summarize this so that you get this real simple essay. In the kindergarten 2-dimensional math, there ain't no 5-sided squares, but kindergarten math is not everything.
I never agreed with the 5-sided
what about that
square.
2-sided triangle?
There's no such thing as a 5-sided square in any geometry, and it's not a square. A square is strictly 4 equal. A square is strictly 4 equal sides.
What about in hyperbolic geometry, in non-Euclidean geometry?
Then it's not a square.
It doesn't exist there, even though this video is showing exactly what I stated, that on a saddle-shaped object, you can have a 5-sided 90-degree angle object that they would call a square.
Then it's not a square.
Yeah, let's not talk about it.
Yeah, by the way, you can have one-sided triangle in spherical geometry. If you take the circumference, then it can be like it's a one-sided triangle.
Can you somehow?
Did you say a one-sided triangle?
Yeah, in spherical geometry, the circumference, you can think about it as a one-sided triangle.
Can you please elaborate on that?
Did he say one-sided triangle?
Yes.
Yep.
Spherical
geometry.
The
triangles are straight lines. It's right line geometry.
Let them explain, guys. Let them explain, please.
You have 3 angles. Each is 180 degrees. So if you take the circumference and divide it by 3 lines, like put 3 dots around, this is a triangle.
Mm-hmm.
False.
You got the circumference of a line?
Well, that actually, there's a problem. There's a problem with that though, because you're describing it in 2 different geometries. That's why. Because if you're describing the circumference, 3 points on it, being anything other than a straight line on the circumference, then you'd be talking about Euclidean space, XYZ space. In which case, it would just be whatever shape. It would be a triangle, like a regular triangle at that point. And if you were talking about non-Euclidean geometry, it would just be a geodesic.
You're just making 3 intersections on an already triangle. So it's still 3 lines, just with 3 intersections in the one line.
Well, in spherical geometry.
No. He said one line, gentlemen. Let's be clear here. He said one line triangle.
Is it geometry?
Okay, so can I respond? Yes, you may have a point. Again, I have to get back to the definitions and see whether, like, I just remember I read about it somewhere. But I have to get back to how, all the axioms of spherical geometry and see whether what I said is actually correct. But again, it's all matter of definitions, like how you define a line in different types of geometries. But I mean, all of you made me think again, but I clearly remember I read about spherical geometry and
you're probably right. There probably is an instance where that happens, but you're also right. Yeah, the definitions when you change into geometry to non-Euclidean geometry, you have to define things differently than you did in the other case. And just like in hyperbolic geometry, in spherical geometry, you can have a 3-sided object that has 90-degree angles. They're all 90-degree angles. So it's
how much dimensions is hyperbolic geometry?
Say what?
How much dimensions do you have for hyperbolic?
Well, hyperbolic would be talking about the surface of an object. Would be you're talking about a 2D surface.